Hi, Akash. Can you hear me okay?
Hey, Susan. Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, so the sound is coming. Thanks. Trying to figure out where is the sound coming from. So it seems like I'm still.
I think your sound is coming, at least your mic is from your headphones, probably.
Still
Yeah.
now?
Okay, now I think I can hear you. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, it's there's some weirdness going on with my headphones. So I just turned it off and then now everything defaults to the computer. Hello, Xinghe. Hope you had a good break.
Hi, Susan. Hi, Akash.
Hey, Shinra.
So Susan, have you already back to Australia?
Yeah. I've traveled back on Sunday, but I'm still adjusting to the time zone and everything. So Sydney is 3 hours ahead.
Oh, it is
Are
becoming
you back in Shanghai or still in was it
yeah,
Nanjing?
I already back in Shanghai.
Yeah. Like other people posted photos of the Shanghai station while everyone is like trying to get out of the city. And I was like, oh, Xinghe is so smart leaving early.
In fact, during that holiday, I still needed to go back my grandmother's city, so still in the road.
I see. Well, at least everyone is safe and had a break
Yeah.
from work. Cool. So let me share my screen.
Hi, Akash, Xinghe, and Junchen. Good morning, good afternoon.
Hi, Feynman.
Hi, Feynman. Just letting Bin into the room and just making sure I'm sharing the right process. I think it should be this one. Can everyone see the Chrome window?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So quickly going through our PR list. We had a code review meeting this Monday. It looks like it's still pretty much the same. Add retry to cosine keyless test. Is this one ready for another round of review, Akash?
Yeah, I think it's actually ready to merge. Just quick sign off. I think Bin had left one comment, which I addressed. Apart from that, it was running into the whole test failures that we were seeing last night. I retried it this morning, still the same scenario, but just a couple hours ago, there was another PR that came in and passed. So I think I'm going to run it again to see if it's isolated to this one or there was a transit.
Yeah, just curious on the test failure, who owns that server?
So it's downloading a JSON schema from some
Arbitrary website or some website that we know?
It's not an arbitrary one. It seems like that's the one that's listed as the official one that carries the serif schema JSON. So that's the one that we point to download the serif from. So that server was returning a 503, I guess, which is why it was failing.
Yeah. Okay. So it is supposed to be a well-maintained and supported website. Cool. So hopefully we don't hit this again.
Yeah, I was thinking, oh, should I add retry here? And then I realized, oh, this is probably not a retry
Completely down.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, we'll to be able to take a look, and we can merge this one. And the other one is a GoLine XNet.
Yep.
Is this blocked on any test? No. Okay. And this is a save change, right? I'll be able to approve this and merge this after this meeting.
Yep. Yeah.
Sounds good. Okay, so that's everything on the PR. And in our discussion item, I've noted down the going through the performance doc. So Feynman is on the call. Like, Feynman is interested in like what is lacking from like what else do we need from the experimental component, but E was also interested in the performance doc result, and he's not on the call today. I don't know, Akash, do you want to run through this now and E can watch the recording, or do you want to wait till next week? But we've been delaying this for a little bit now, so up to you.
Yeah, I think we could probably go through it. It's been a few weeks, so there's a few like action items that are still need to be done with it that were surfaced from the testing that we could probably discuss about today.
Okay,
But
cool.
and then yeah, I think Luis and Yi can watch the recording and ask any questions afterwards.
Yeah, do you want to, I can make you the host because it's a pretty long document. It'll give you more flexibility scrolling around.
Sure. Did you want to talk about that one first, or should we talk about the versioning one that will require more user input or community input from that one?
Sure. We can talk about the performance doc last, so we have all the remaining time for it. So yeah, for the release cadence, I've captured some notes. They're just like so far our discussion has been, okay, Kubernetes, in summary, Kubernetes releases 3 times a year. We can follow that and adjust if needed. And then given that we released end of September, then 1.1 for us would be late January, and then 1.2 in late May, just if we were following the same release cadence. Do people have feedback on the general release cadence? Feynman, do you have any feedback? I think my internet is working, right? I can see Feynman moving around a bit. But Xinghe, what do you think of like Ratify releasing every 4 months and then going to 1.1 and then 1.2, and as needed we'll go to 2.0?
So the 4 months is for patch bump, is that correct?
For minor releases. So
Sorry, minor.
Yesterday, like we're probably just taking patch releases only based on need. So security fixes and critical topics only. So we're not planning any.
It is fine for me. It is fine for me. So the patch is for bug, for example, bug fix, and it is flexible. And the minor is around 4 of every 4 months. Is that correct?
Yeah. That's what we're thinking.
Yeah, it looks very good.
That's the proposal, but we're open to discussion.
It's fine. It's fine to me.
Yep, I'm just seeing Shui and Sajay joining the call. Maybe they'll have some feedback as well.
Susan, can you elaborate those 2 options? I see you listed 2 options, and it seems they have different approaches to reach the stable minor release, right?
Yeah. I think we can first agree on the like when do we want to take 1.1 and then 1.2 first, and then we can discuss the in between, like how do we get there?
Okay, so you are suggesting that we need to align on the regular release cadence per year. Then we can go through the options for the release approach about the versioning.
Yes, like because we've kind of talked a little bit about each in the previous sessions, but I think there's some confusions and people just want to finalize. So I think today we should kind of have our discussion and have clear expectations as an outcome. And Shiwei and Sajay were just talking about the second item here on the release cadence and milestones. So we've just summarized what we've discussed so far. Like if we follow the Kubernetes release 3 times a year cadence, we would be releasing 1.1 late January and then 1.2 in May. Do you have any feedback, Shiwei, Sajay, Thaman?
So I think different project have different release of cadence. So for Kubernetes, it's a more mature one, so they have slow release of cadence. But for Ratify, I think we can release more frequently. I see 4 months. I mean, for release is too long. Maybe you can shorten that, like 3 months or 2 months. Yeah. So yeah, that's my point.
Okay, I will make a note.
By the way, sorry for interrupting. Do we have standards about what kind of change should be it should be in major, minor, and patch?
Yeah, good question, Xinghe. We have a task defining these, but I think we're going to follow the standards of if there's a breaking change, it's a major version update. Like if we were to saying whatever new feature we're adding is incompatible or it breaks existing feature, then we'll bump up the version to 2.0. And for minor releases are just incremental, smaller features. Is that correct, Feynman?
Sorry, I just missed your point.
Sure. So Xinghe's question is, when do we choose to release a major release versus minor releases?
Yes, in fact, I'm more interested in minor vs patch.
I see. So there was a discussion yesterday around should we plan patch releases? And my understanding is we are only cutting patch release for critical and security bugs. So we don't plan for patch release.
Okay, I got the point from Xinghe and also Susan. I think we can following the standard versioning, the semantic versioning, right? And also the definitions defined by the semantic versioning. For example, for patch release, it is a flexible release cadence that it depends on whether we detect any critical bugs or security issues in Ratify. If so, we can choose to release a patch release anytime to fix those critical bugs in case users can get the latest patch in time. For minor release, by default, we regard those minor release as the feature release, and we can follow the maybe a quarter-based release cadence or 4 months-based release cadence. It depends on how many features that we plan for the upcoming milestones. For the major version, I'm thinking that it depends on how many breaking changes we want to bring, especially the API changes. If we don't have too much very big breaking changes introduced, we can follow, we can have several minor release before cutting a major version.
Okay, thank you. So for example, if it is for existed feature, and maybe we make some different usage for this feature, but not a breaking change, will it be in a minor change or patch?
Sorry, Xinghe, can you repeat the question?
Oh, sorry. I mean, if for example, it is not for new feature, it is for existing feature, but we are making some some change or maybe some improvement on this feature, and what kind of version bump will should it belong?
I would think if it's a non-breaking change, it'll be
Yes,
in a minor.
It will be a minor. Okay. So all chart changing will be minor, or it could also be in patch.
Yeah, that's a good question. So, Akash, currently our chart version is it a goal for us to match the chart version with the Ratify release version?
Yeah, that would be an eventual goal once we hit 2.0, because we've diverged off of the app version and the chart version are different, unfortunately. But for minor releases, if we do release a new chart, we can also do a minor chart version as well. That's also allowed. So we wouldn't have to keep bumping the equivalent of minor patch. We could also just add patch chart versions too. And that's actually what everyone does, because they maintain parity between the app version and chart version. So when you do a patch for a chart app version, it'll also carry over to the chart version.
Yeah, and we're going to follow the same thing. So if it's a bug fix to
Yeah.
the chart, it's a patch. And if it's an improvement,
I just want to clarify that I think we should keep the chart releases and the app releases in lockstep. We shouldn't be like, oh, we only made a chart
Only
change, let's just bump the chart change. I think it's going to get really, really confusing to track then. So
okay. Yeah, I can take a note on that as well. Just based on like what we agree on the chart versus application.
Yep.
Sorry, I may have one more question. Sorry about it.
Sure.
For example, if we for example our minor version is 2, and we have for example a security fix or a bug fix, and we can apply it on the main branch, and I think it is suitable to cherry pick into the minor version 1, but will we also cherry pick it on the minor version 0?
I think that Akash, do you want to talk about the SE?
Yeah, I don't actually. That's a great question. I don't know what versions are we going to maintain with up-to-date security fixes. Are we going to be, because I think Kubernetes just does it up n-2, and before that they don't do any maintenance at all, but you would know better, I think.
Yeah, in fact, I think Kubernetes is not a very good practice to refer for the version bump, because their minor version is the breaking change.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. What other projects?
Another consideration is like the major cloud providers like AWS and Azure. Xinghe, like what version of Kubernetes do they usually keep up to date? Like we can support say n and n minus one, just like auras. But if say major cloud provider like Azure, they usually use n minus two, then maybe it's better for Ratify to also support n minus two.
It could be an option, of course.
So for Azure, is it usually up to like date with the latest Azure Kubernetes version, or is it a little bit behind? Like how behind? Is there like
For
a
AKS,
estimate?
we at least for AKS we do this choice.
So for AKS, is it n minus one?
Is around n-2 Kubernetes version. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we can take that into consideration. So we're still defining the branching and release strategy, but we're very likely to use like auras and other open source project as a reference. But I think currently like n minus one and n minus two seems reasonable. Feynman, Akash, what do you think?
I think that sounds reasonable, but really, I don't really have much to go based off of.
Yeah. I think it's just let's just start somewhere and then
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would also like to just support for faster releases. I think we've been releasing every 1 month and then switching to 4 months. I feel like that's way too long. And if we add new features or stuff, it would be better to get that out versus just having beta 1, 2, 3, and then not actually having minor releases. But that's my personal opinion.
Okay. Cool. So we can quickly review like what our in-between release look like, and then that might also help with the cadence. So I think we've currently really used to a monthly release cadence, right? So like if we're shipping a minor release monthly, well, we must have some in-between release, right, Akash?
Yeah, I mean, I think we should do maybe 2 months is more reasonable. And then at the month mark, if there's any like must bug fixes, then we can maybe make that a patch or something.
So the Feynman was asking about the two options. So far we've talked about like some more mature projects, or they might just go from the last stable release and then to like 1.1 RC1. And then once they are good with that, like they think that RC is good enough, they can say, oh, this RC just become the next release. So that's one pattern. And the other pattern we observed, like Gatekeeper, they would do a beta and then they will go to RC and then they will release. And the advantage of going straight to RC, I think Shui brought up a point like once you are GA'd, you're more stable, you don't need beta anymore. Yeah, and there's generally like lower release cost. And having beta, I feel there's two advantages. The main advantage is if we had a new feature that we added, it gives room to make code changes based on customer feedback. Because if we added a new feature and we shipped RC, and if we need to change it, like do we need to make it compatible, etc. So that's just the two patterns the two options we have. Feynman, do you have any feedback on which one you prefer?
I would not say which option that I prefer, since I do not reject any beta release before the minor version, even though we released the first major release, right? I think the beta release can still be a flexible choice for our future release. since if we for example, if we introduce a lot of new features and some incompatible API changes in a minor version, I think before that we can leverage the beta release before the RC. In this approach, we can have one more release before it goes to a stable release. For example, if we have the V1 1.1, the next minor version with the first beta and then RC, it gives us 2 times to gather early feedback from the community and also from the customers, that they have the opportunities similar to the private preview to public preview to GA. But if we have only one RC, I think in that case, it means we don't have too much incompatible API changes or just a few new features introduced in that minor version. Then we can adopt a simple release versioning schema, like just one RC before it goes to stable. So I think it depends on the case for different release. We don't need to be quite strict that if we need a beta or not. I think it depends on the cases or the purpose that we want for that release. If we want to get more feedback, have one more beta release is much better. But if we want to ship fast and get those a few features to be stable as early as possible, we have, I think, only one RC is enough. I think Shui's major concern is it's about
also
that.
Like how sure are we about what we're building, like the user requirements and stuff. Shui, you have your hand up.
Yes. So it depends on who's your audience or target users. So for most users, as long as you have a stable version, they will stick with the stable version. So basically, they will ignore any beta versions or RC versions. They will just focus on the stable versions like 1.1 or 1.0.1, something like that. So they won't care about those in the versions in between. So if you want to release beta version, so what's the target audience or user for this release? For RC version, it's okay because RC represents as a release candidate. It just makes sure that the stable, there's no issue on the release, on the releasing phase of a stable version. So that's why we have RC. But for beta, what's the point of that?
The beta just in case we need to change. Make changes to the feature we added. But again, we have the experimental, right? Like we do have a flag to warn the user, hey, this is experimental, use it at your own risk.
Yes, you're right. So we already have experimental features. So if we are unsure that a feature is good or good enough to be stable or not, then we can mark it as experimental. We don't need a beta one. For early adopters that they are actively using Ratify, they can just build from the main branch. Or we have another dev channel for them. Yes, and that's my view.
Got it. Cool. So any other feedback? Anyone on the call?
Anyway, I think we need a document to summarize all of those proposals and standardize the release cadence and also the versioning strategy on the Ratify whatever the website or in the source code repo, so we can align on the finalized proposals and the rules that we should follow in the upcoming releases. Sorry, I need to jump, but I'm happy to hear we have different opinions and ideas on the release cadence.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you for joining. See you later, Payman. Go ahead, Bin Bin.
Yeah, see you.
Yeah, so I was wondering, so if we don't have the beta version between like stable versions, and I'm thinking how to help users to try our new features like before the RC or before the next version. I wonder if we can just like user to use the main branch, and since we have that build, which will build the like the latest image based on the main branch. And however, there is no like published chart, so maybe we can tell user how to use the latest dev image to like basically they need to use the local charts.
Yeah, that's a good point. So if they want to stay on the main release, like they don't want to take the updates, they will have to maintain their own chart. Is that the?
Yeah, I think they need to use the local chart from the main branch and replace the image using replace the image with the dev images. So if this is something like how we do the like local testing.
Yeah.
But I feel it's a little like complicated for users to try like Ratify.
So for this, what would be the next steps to like get consensus here? Would we just create a document and then vote on it, or?
Yeah. How does a open source community decide, make a decision? Sajid, what typically happens?
Oh, I've seen all kinds. I don't know where to start. Is there first of all, is there any kind of like different opinions here on a? I wasn't following this. I've been multitasking. Sorry. Which one is the item that we're talking about?
I think the major discussion is, do we need a beta or do we need RC? Do we just go straight to RC? Because once we make that decision, like we are pretty set on, okay, we want to release something like a formal chart publish every month, right? And once we say, oh, we only have RC, then we can say we can have a almost monthly minor release because we're just releasing RC and the RC becomes stable.
Yeah, so if you go down that path, then one group of thought is that technically an RC can be a release at any point in time without any change. Like you don't have binary changes. You probably just flip a bit or a tag and you retag it as a GA or something like that. The other one is people don't want to take dependency on RC because there's no support, there's no concept of patching that. So I think, who are we targeting here? Are we targeting somebody to run this and you want to provide patches, or are we targeting this to get just quick feedback? What's your thinking?
I think our goal is ship features on a monthly cadence for people to try.
Okay, so why don't you consider that anything that you're shipping new that might not be behavioral breaking is behind some flag, and that flag is always easy enough to mark under experimental, and anything that goes into outside the experimental goes into the minor release. So that way you can ship new things and not be blocked by RCs, because my concern with RCs is that the goal of an RC is that you get to a major version. But if you're just adding features, then a minor version bump with a bunch of things behind experimental might be an easy way to ship also.
So
Yeah.
you're saying we can go even just a monthly minor release without RC and put
Yeah.
any features that might go away under experimental.
Yeah, as long as you're not breaking anything, I think it should be fine. The moment you have a breaking change, then that's when things get a little more complicated.
So what will happen if we add a new feature? And so we have a new feature, but that needs to change. Like we don't want to maintain it, and it's already. I guess if it's not, we're making a change that's not backwards compatible, our only option is to bump up the major version.
If it's behind experimental, then you can, right? Like that's the point of the
Yeah.
experimental flag.
But
If
if
we
it's
had
not experimental, then
then it's a breaking
bump
change.
the
Then
version.
then it should be a version bump at that point in time.
Yeah.
Like that's a major version bump. You're not doing a minor patch. A minor, the concept is a minor should be upgradable, right? Like you should be able to
Yeah.
apply it and then just continue working. And I think it's okay to have patch releases that might be equal to minor version as long as it's like taking a security update or something like that. So if you want to do a security update, you should be able to do a quick patch release, and that should be relatively straightforward. And so my thinking is that most projects end up with minors non-breaking. If you honor SimWare early, life is going to be easier. And people are going to be okay. But if you have a like big release like Kubernetes or something like that, where a lot of things come together, for notation we're thinking of something called as a system release, which is notation 1.1 or 2.0 will have specific notary projects like a system release which would have notation 1.1, which might have other things. So I don't think Ratify is in that complexity yet. So just go for patch releases or minor releases. And if you don't have a 2.0 in mind yet, then it's okay. I think as long as you think of a minor release every 3 months, 4 months, it'll be okay. Yeah, and
Actually, welcome back.
Sorry, to
Go ahead,
Akash,
Sajid.
to Akash's question of whether you want to vote, that's up to you folks. If there's no disagreement on the process, create an issue. Hey, we're making a minor release, and use that as a. And if everybody kind of like LGTMs on it, you got your vote already. You don't have to go through a big process. But if you prefer and there's actual opposing views, then yes, a vote is probably needed. Even in the OCA community, we're trying to avoid votes as much as possible because it shows like conflict in some. But if you folks agree on it, and you're the maintainers anyway, so it's up to you. I'm just here to guide along.
Yeah, so I think we agree on the goal. Like we want to ship frequently, and whatever process can support our goal. Like I'm happy to start with that. So to summarize what Sajay was proposing, so if we want to ship quickly, we can go with a monthly minor release, and as long as we put unstable features under experimental flag, we're safe to not support it. Like even we say, okay, we've released 1.1, but this new feature is behind the feature flag. It'll still give time for customers to react and provide feedback. So we don't, right, Sajay, is that the?
Yeah, that's summer. I mean, I don't know whether you want to do a monthly release. That's going to be an overhead on whoever is going to do the release, right? I'm thinking like maybe once in 2 or 3 months. It's up to you, whoever wants to take the burden. I have to release on OCI constantly, and it is a lot of button pushing, but it's something that has to be done. So figure out what's your cadence. The other thing is, I think if you have good change logs, like this experimental thing is a breaking change, that should be clear enough. And there are no breaking minor changes, because that would be a concern. Then you kind of have broken the concept of SimWare at that.
And thank you, Akash, for.
I think 2 or 3 months of Organis is better, because usually RC versions will take like 2 weeks.
Sorry, I didn't follow.
Yeah.
Are-
I mean, okay. So basically, if we have like 2 months of cadence, that means we only have 1.5 months for the actual coding and releasing, because after 1.5 months there will be a RC version, and after 2 weeks there will be a stable version. So if it's 2 months, then it's actually 1.5. If we heading for 3 months, that's actually 2.5. 2.5.
Oh, this is because I think Shu is kind of bringing the fact like in Auras there's a 1.1 RC. So because it's a minor release, but it has a bunch of new features, so they're kind of doing a release candidate. So I think if you have like a large number of features that you want to promote to minor, and you have concerns, then you do a 1.1 RC, put everything outside there, and then see if you can quickly flip the bit of RC to release. You should not wait for too long. An RC should kind of like go out very soon. That's the idea. You don't want to keep an RC for like 3 months, right? Like that's the reason.
Everyone
Sure.
kept asking, why did Ratify have so many RCs?
I know, that's what I'm trying to say. Don't have RCs if you don't need to. Just go with that. Just go with minor release if you're happy with it. And you do have an experimental flag, so might be okay. So Shuey, do you have any concern? Like I don't think they need RCs right now. Seeing the feature set, everything is, if it's behind experimental, might be okay.
Yes, but RC stands for the release candidate. It's just to troubleshoot if we have any bugs in the releasing progress.
Yeah, that's another way to think about it. So
yeah,
like for Auras, it is a 1.1 RC. It's not a 1.1 release. So you have some time before you can test if that release is good enough. Yeah.
Yes, and if you have modified anything related to releasing process, then definitely you need the RC. Like if you want to change the release script or anything related to releasing, then definitely you need the RC.
Yeah. So make your call when you're close to 1.1. That's what I'm saying.
On if we need RC. Yeah. Okay. And Akash, because you've been doing a majority of our releases, I think you get the most say in the cadence, because there's a lot of like manual steps involved.
I mean there's definitely manual steps involved, but the reason I'm pushing for faster is because I'd rather get feedback, and I will, if that means more pain releasing, I'm fine with that. Rather us get more feedback and iterate a lot faster rather than us wait longer period of time before we get any sort of feedback. So
yeah, even managing the change log for 3 months is a pain, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't remember like what's that thing for.
Yep.
Cool. So I think we agree on like shorter release cycle. If 1 month is too short, then we can start with two month. And then closer to the date, we can evaluate if we should have an RC.
I think that makes sense to me.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for all the input. I will capture this in our discussion notes and also post the summary, and then E and Louise can give their feedback. Cool. And that leaves you 15 minutes, Akash, to run through the performance report. Do you want to do it today or next week? And Feynman's off the call now.
Yeah, okay. I'll do it next week. I think it's gonna take me more than 15 minutes.
Yeah. Agreed. Binbin, I remember, given we have 15 minutes more, Binbin, we had a discussion about the race condition issue that Akash created an issue for. Yeah, Akash, do you want to talk about it?
I wanted to talk about that one. Actually, Shuei is here too, so he could give some perspective there.
Yeah, Shuei is also on the call. Like we had a discussion on during the triage meeting.
Oh, okay. So maybe you've already talked about this then. I'll let you discuss. Okay, I'll give a quick overview. So basically, we're running into an issue where, because Ratify is multi-process based when you have external verifiers and you have a single OCI store backed by a single file. Multiple processes could be reading and writing at the same time, causing inconsistencies when you're trying to update the OCI store. So we see this manifest in some unique race conditions that pop up in our end-to-end tests. So sometimes we see EOF errors, sometimes we see like malformed JSON formatting for the index file, so the index file wasn't able to be read by ORAS. So just looking at where this is coming from, and then also I found an issue on ORAS saying that it's not supported for inter-process communication. I'm thinking this is probably the root cause, the fact that it's not process safe. So I'm not sure like what would be like the mitigation on the Aura side or on the Ratify side to kind of fix this issue. Yeah.
Yeah, our first question in the discussion was, Akash, do you think customers likely to have this requirement of running multiple verifiers on the same subject, like at the same time?
This is so this would be the scenario where you could have like you're doing a signature verification using cosign, for example. You're also doing a vulnerability report verification at the same time. And you're also doing an SBOM verification at the same time. So all three are external plugins, but all three have different artifacts attached to the same subject reference, and would be done concurrently. So I think there is a case for this happening.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for confirming. Sajay, you had a hand up earlier.
Yeah, basically I put the question in chat. Why can't we build a primitive in the verifiers that enables it to do something like a process level or a moniker lock or something like that, where before it needs to access the store, it has a common file that it needs to touch or take access on, so that if somebody else is coming with the same store, you don't have to. My thinking is that Auras might not solve it. That's kind of what I'm trying to get to.
I think
Yeah,
that makes
Shui
sense.
confirmed it's not an easy fix. Yeah.
Yes, and I agree with Sajid, and also because you are using Aura's OCI storage for verification, because for verification that's read operation, right? Why do we have any write operation on it?
So there are write operations when we don't have the blob or the descriptor stuff already pre-cached. So we're seeing it for the first time. The verifier is actually the one responsible for pulling that information down first. So then it'll try to do a write also during that process.
It gets the referer, right?
Yep.
Sure, it's the local cache that is getting populated using the Aura store. Does that make sense?
Not sure. By the way, so let me see. Akash, when you using OCI store, do you use tags or you just need a CAS storage?
Just need a CS storage. Don't need tags.
Okay, if you don't need tags, you can instantiate a OCI storage instance instead of OCI store. In Aura's, OCI storage is concurrently safe even for multiple process with writing with writing.
I see. So the tag, sorry, the tag would be the addition there would be the index file, or would there be an index file for both the OCI storage and the OCI store?
The index file will only be in the OCI store. It won't be in the OCI storage.
They need the index because they look up by manifest digest.
Yes.
By digest it's okay, but the index is just for the for the tagging service, that is, you have mapped a string to a digest. If you know the digest, you can just go to the blob folder to find out the manifest.
But we haven't come across pruning yet, right?
No, we haven't done pruning yet. If we did want to use the OCI, I think the new deleter implementation that ORSs might be adding.
Right.
Yeah.
So sure, there needs to be some amount of GC that needs to happen, but we're not there yet. Even though we're accessing it by digest, the problem is somebody will have to keep track of what can be deleted, right?
Yes, but when you want to do, okay, you want to GC, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So that's why, okay, in that case, we need to maintain the index.json file.
Yeah.
But it's the index.json file make it concurrent in unsafe.
Yeah. No, I think Ratify needs to handle multiple verifiers accessing it. The reason is today somebody might use notation. If you use something else to access the same OCI store, it needs to guard it somehow. So I think it's okay to introduce a primitive that would keep a file or a moniker around that access.
Yeah, that sounds good. I can file an issue for that.
Yeah, and you can spec it out so that anybody who's writing a verifier knows that if you want to access the OCI store, you can do it this way.
Okay.
Thanks for the discussion, everyone. Any other topics? Jungcheng, Bingbing, Xinghe.
My side.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Xinghe. All right, then we'll wrap up 10 minutes early then. Thanks for joining, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.